Welcome to Laricy Live. You want to know what's happened in the real estate market? Then this show is for you. I'm your host, Matt Laricy. Okay, so today our topic is Super Bowl real estate myths debunked. For some reason, I don't know why, but a long time ago, 20, 30 years ago or something like that, somebody must have written somewhere, somehow, I think it might have been a Tribune article or something, that the best time ever to list was the day after the Super Bowl. They said it was the kickoff, get that pun? The kickoff of the spring market. So pretty much ever since November, any listing consultation I'll go on, people will ask me isn't the best time to list the day after the Super Bowl? And you kind of want to be like, oh my gosh, like who the hell told you this? So what we wanted to do today was come up with some questions that people would have asked about what the Super Bowl has to do with listing your property, and we're just going to kind of read them off as we have done in the past. So, question number 1, what is the connection between the Super Bowl and real estate? There is no connection. Literally, the Super Bowl has nothing to do with real estate. So why do people think it does? I think a lot of people think like, hey, the spring market starts in March or April, but if you want to get a leg up on it, you could list in February. And what's a good time in February? The day after the Super Bowl. So I think that might be where the connection might be. Why do people believe there is a connection at all? I think it must have started in an article somewhere. I remember it's 2021. This is like late 90s reading an article. Maybe it was early 2000s. Regardless, somewhere 20 plus years ago, they talked about getting a head start on the spring market because really the best months are March and April. So if you come on early, you might be able to beat people to the beat people to the market by coming on first. And I'm assuming people are like, hey, if you come on right after the Super Bowl, that's a good time to target because we as Americans, we need target dates, okay? If you're like, let's talk next Saturday and hope to get it done by then, you won't get it done. If you're like, hey, let's list the day after the Super Bowl, you'll have it done. I'm thinking that might be where the connection comes from. Where do you think this theory came from? I just said that's where I think the theory comes from. I also want to throw in there the fact that the Super Bowl has changed and got pushed back. So if the Super Bowl keeps getting pushed back because maybe the season gets longer, how much might that change people's mentality? Something to think about. Do you recommend do you recommend sellers to list the day after the Super Bowl? I don't. I recommend, so we work the downtown Chicago market. The best time to list, I think, is the second week of January, first or second week of January, because there's not that much inventory on the market. All the buyers have just got back from holiday. They're juiced up. They're like, hey, new year, new me. This is my time to buy. My lease is coming up in March, April, May, June. And there's not much inventory to compete with. Now, I do think that a lot of people do recommend to list the day after the Super Bowl. And if you look at the biggest listing days that come on from the first of the year, it's that first week back, okay? After the first of the year, it's after the Super Bowl, and it's after spring break. Those are your heaviest big times where, like, out of nowhere, a ton of inventory will hit the market. So I do think, as of right now, that next big wave of inventory is going to come right after the Super Bowl. Do I hear other realtors suggesting that? Yes, I do. I hear it all the time. I hear it in passing. I'll go on a listing appointment, and the seller will tell me, hey, we interviewed 4 people. 3 of them said to list the day after the Super Bowl. I don't know why, but people say it. How much inventory typically comes on after that? So I have no idea. I don't have any statistical proof. I would guesstimate maybe a fifth more. It's pretty substantial. Like right now, I'm studying the market. We're seeing like maybe anywhere from 80-ish places hit the market a day across a pretty decent wide area that I watch. And then, the week after the Super Bowl, I'll probably see like 200 places hit a day that whole week. So, it's quite a substantial amount. You'll also see a lot of people drop their price the day after the Super Bowl to try to compete with the oncoming inventory. So it's kind of like this unwritten urban myth of the day after the Super Bowl is the time to list, and people are kind of like worried or nervous about it too if you're on the market because you're nervous about the upcoming inventory that's coming onto the market. Is it smart since most closings happen in April and May? So I mean, for our markets, April and May are your biggest closing months of the year. So if your biggest closing months are April and May, most people are going under contract end of January and February for an April close, and like end of February, beginning of March for a May close. I'm not saying you can't close in April, go under contract in April and close in May. I'm saying, like, generally speaking, you have a lot of these people on longer leases, so they want, anywhere from like 40 to 60 day closings. I see longer closings in the spring than I do like in the fall and winter and stuff like that. So I do see a lot of 60-day request or even longer in January, February months. It's very common we get them. It's like the biggest thing I fight back on people. So, if people are closing then, naturally, you're going to want to think a mid-January time to list would be a good idea, as I said earlier. And for those people out there that need a target date, like we discussed, day after the Super Bowl may be it. And that, again, could be a reason why people think it. But I also don't think, personally, that it's the greatest idea ever to do it. I don't know why it came from. I don't think it's a great idea to do it. But we're going to see a lot of people follow suit of this. What do you say to clients who are adamant that they want to list the day after the Super Bowl? I mean, I don't care. I don't say anything. I'm like, if that's the target date you need, we can do it. I'm just saying this isn't the reason and best thing to do. So the reason we're even talking about this, guys, is because so many people think that they have to list the day after Super Bowl. They won't even list like third week of January because like let's just wait. Let's just wait till the day after Super Bowl because, well, that's the best time to list. It's not a bad time to list. We're not saying it's bad. We're just not saying it's the only time to list anywhere from mid-January to mid-February. Do listings that go live the day after Super Bowl have multiple offers? I mean, I'm sure there is. Right now, guys, multiple offers are huge. We just shot our last podcast talking about the state of the market. Multiple offers are big. People who list the day after Super Bowl are still going to be taking advantage of not that much inventory on the market. So, yeah, they're definitely going to be able to feel a lot of multiple bids if it's priced right and shows well because they're going to be able to take advantage of the lack of the inventory. Do listings that go live the day after Super Bowl sell faster? I don't have any statistical proof, okay? So I can't sit here and tell you from a data perspective that I know for a fact that happens. But as I just said, you are competing with less inventory. And in our markets, the general consumer thinks, April, May is spring, when really most closings, as we said, happen in April or May. So coming on earlier could give you a leg up on your competition and possibly sell faster. I can tell you, too, that my people who generally list in the first 3 months typically sell for more money than the properties that I list in June and July. I wouldn't say typically. I almost always. If I have two of the same unit and I sell one in March and I sell one in June, usually the one in June I sell for a little bit less. Will there be a surge of real estate inventory in Chicago the day after Super Bowl? You're goddamn right it will be. There definitely will be. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a ton of inventory hit the market the day after the week after the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of people are going to target that Monday back, but a lot of people are going to trickle it in over that week. And pay attention to open houses. I don't even know if that's a question. I don't look ahead, but pay attention to open houses that weekend. You're going to see a lot of open houses the weekend after the Super Bowl. Because Super Bowl itself is like a holiday. This year might be different because we're still in the semi-lockdown. But I mean, Super Bowl is almost up there with like Turkey Day lately. It's like one of the biggest eating days of the year. So, a lot of people don't want anybody in their houses on that weekend because they have guests in, family in, etc. I know, again, guys, it's still COVID, so I'm not saying that's definitely going to be the same. But the weekend leading up to the Super Bowl is typically slow, and then that weekend after gets pretty crazy. Does sports in general have any impact on the real estate market? No, it has absolutely no. Actually, what I will tell you is that, like, let's say the only way sports would have an impact on a real estate market is if your team is in it. So let's say like it's the Bears in the Super Bowl, and let's face it, we haven't been in there since '85. People are gonna be getting fucked up all day. I mean, let's just be honest with you. It's been a very long time. The Bears, we are a football city. We're a sports city. If the Bears are in the Super Bowl, yeah. There's going to be people that aren't working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and maybe even Tuesday. And then you got a parade if they win it, which means Friday, which means you can't get around the city. So, yeah, if your sports will affect the real estate market if your team is in the finals and your city is big on sports. So when the Hawks and Cubs won, when the Hawks won the Cup and the Cubs won the World Series, the city was like shut down. Like nobody was doing anything but drinking and partying and going to parades when that was pre-COVID times. So that's the only time real estate would somewhat affect sports would somewhat affect the market. It's not like it's a bad thing. It just means a couple days of celebration and the market kind of slows down. Showings will slow down. Will the Super Bowl be different due to COVID this year and have any impact on when people are supposed to list their real estate properties? I don't think so. I mean, the only COVID impact it's going to have on the Super Bowl is there's not going to be, I don't even know. I think there's like way less fans. I think they're allowed like 10,000 fans or something small, super small. And you probably shouldn't be going to a 200-person Super Bowl party or buying one of those, wristband packages at a bar. I mean, we're in Chicago, so bars are closed. But, I mean, you probably shouldn't be going to a slammed bar where you can't move and watch the game. So, that's the only way COVID would affect it. But when it comes to real estate, none of that has a direct impact on the COVID and the lockdown. So I think a lot of people are still using it as a target date to get their places on the market. Are there any other days, events, or holidays that people believe will have an impact on the real estate market? So, again, as I stated, people need target dates of when to list, okay? So if you really want to understand when, like if you're a consumer right now, you're a buyer or a seller, and you're thinking like, hey, when are the best times to list? When can I expect to see more inventory if you're a buyer? Like, I don't want to miss out on this place, but I also want to see what else comes on. Where can I think it is? So right after the first of the year, you're going to see a big wave of inventory. Next date is going to be right after the Super Bowl, okay? The next big wave of inventory is going to be right after spring break. Why after spring break, guys? Because people who have kids, they want to go on vacation, or they have kids off school so they can help prep the house, etc. Then after that, it's going to be Memorial Day, okay? And then after that, so Memorial Day is the big summer push, okay? That's when you get all the summer inventory on the market, is the day after Memorial Day. And then you're going to see July 4th. A lot of people target, let's put it on the weekend after July 4th. Then it's Labor Day, okay? And then the big list days slow down. Then it becomes, when do the listings start coming off, okay? And usually right around Halloween, a lot of people will pull their properties, Turkey Day, and then like December 1st. And then it ramps back up again. Now, I understand that's kind of a tangent about when it is, but that's been the trends forever. I've been studying real estate since I was 2 years old, and I've seen the same big dates happen every single year. It could be COVID or not COVID, but we're still going to see that same type of pattern happen this year in the market. If you don't believe in the Super Bowl real estate myth, what do you believe is the best day to list a new property in the market? Said it, mid-January. Let's back this up. It depends on the type of property you have. If I have a condo in Chicago under $750,000 and it's a normal non-COVID year, I would put it on first week of January. If I have a luxury high-rise condo, I'd put it on end of January. And if I have a single-family home, I would put it on end of January. That's my thoughts. So the reason is I know that inventory is coming after Super Bowl, and I know that I'd like to get ahead of it if I'm a luxury property. And I also think the luxury people don't come back right away to start looking, but that starts to pick up. And I could tell that because right now our luxury listings were in the pretty much gutter since the start of the year. And guess what? This week, showings are already starting to pick up on them. So it's the trends. If you follow the patterns, you could kind of predict what's going to happen with this market. Does the link between the Super Bowl and the real estate depend at all on location? Actually, that's a good question. I hear it. Let me say, it doesn't just depend on location, the Super Bowl myth. It also depends on the product. I feel I hear this myth a lot more on single-family homes or like townhomes or people with families. I don't hear it as much if I walk into a 25-year-old kid's condo. They usually don't bring it up. But it definitely hear it more on single families and townhomes. And it's way bigger. This myth is way bigger for houses in the suburbs. Suburb houses really follow this trend. We don't follow it as much in the city, but I still hear it all the time. But I know for a fact that the suburb market hears this way more than we do in the city. So it is definitely location and property type specific a little bit. Does the location of the Super Bowl have any effect on the real estate market? Meaning that, like, where the Super Bowl is playing? No? I mean, again, I guess if it's in, like, if the Super Bowl was in Chicago this year and it was a non-COVID year, I'm sure it might have a little bit of effect, maybe a weak effect, because as we stated, Chicago's a sports town, and I'm sure people like to drink here. So I'm telling you, like, a lot of people are probably going to want to take off those couple of days to kind of enjoy something that's, I don't think the Super Bowl's ever been in Chicago. I mean, it could have been. I mean, not in my recent history or when I've been alive. So I'm sure people want to try to, enjoy the experience. Are cities that have held the Super Bowl more desirable than others that have not? No. I mean, usually the reason, somebody gets the Super Bowl is, like, it's nice weather or it's a dome. Like, they usually don't pick places like Chicago because in February it could be minus 10 degrees and snowing outside, and that affects the game. So from what I've been told, I'm not a sports expert. They try to pick a city that's where the weather isn't going to drastically affect which team wins. Are there any other real estate myths you'd like to debunk? I mean, there's not one per se that I'd like to debunk, but I mean, I think there's a lot of rumors out there. A lot of people will believe anything they read and then regurgitate it and say that's what it is because of X. There's a lot of things I hear about, like, construction can't be this, or I've read online, every offer should be 90% of list price because that's standard, or taxes are always 4% of the purchase price no matter what city. Like, that one's a crazy one, but I'm saying, like, people will read stupid shit online and then tell it to me and say that's exactly what's a fact. Or a myth that drives me absolutely crazy is that I'll get a client who's like, hey, my best friend's a real estate tycoon. He's bought 3 places, so he knows some stuff, and he's told me I got to watch out for X. And I'm like, okay, well, he's bought 3 places. That's like a bad day for us in sales, okay? So, we'll sell 400 plus a year. So I think I know a little bit more than John, who sold 3 places in his entire lifetime in the last 50 years. So there's a lot of myths, a lot of rumors out there. The problem is, actually, it's a good thing for us, is real estate's a sexy topic. People like to talk about it. It's like the stock market. It's talking about cars, talk about real estate. People want to talk about it. The reason when people want to talk about it, that creates rumors and myths. And for realtors, we then have to debunk those myths. And that could be frustrating, but I try not to get mad about it, because at the end of the day, if people are talking more about real estate's going to be more attractive, which means we're going to have more sales, which means we get more business. So you can't be upset if we're getting more business. Are you watching or celebrating the Super Bowl? I mean, I'll watch it. I don't know if I would quote-unquote celebrate it. I will eat a lot that day. I have a tradition of pizza and wings, just like pretty much every other American, and I'll try to get home in time to have it on. I typically would go to a friend's house to watch it, but this year we wouldn't do that. We'll just sit at our house and do it. Do more people follow this theory in the city or burbs? We talked about it. I definitely think it's heavier in the burbs, not as much in the city, but it definitely happens in the city. And when does the spring market in Chicago officially start? Great question. I think the spring market officially starts first week of January. I say January is the new April. I say this all the time. January is one of the hottest months of the year. First, second week of January to end of May, I think, are the hottest months out of what happens. And I think spring market officially starts then. Because, again, remember, and I said this a million times, most people's leases end of March, April, May, first part of June. If your lease ends April 1st, you have to tell your building by Feb 1 if you're moving out, which means you come back from holiday, you're like, oh shit, I have 3 weeks to tell my building if I'm moving out or not, so I got to start looking for properties, and boom, the market takes off. And to further my theory to show you that I'm right is that this year so far has been freaking insane because people have come back from holiday and they want to buy again. So spring market starts first, second week of January in Chicago, not the day after the Super Bowl. Make sure to hit the bell. Tune into our next episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get first exclusive look at all of our content. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live. Make sure to tune into our next episode and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening to Laricy Live.